to speak on this are my two guests that will join me, which are Cheryl Lee Ralph, singer, producer, activist, and the recipient of the 2012 Salute Her Community Activist Award. I also have with me Doretta Gadsden, registered nurse, best-selling author of the book Soul Source, and thriver of 26 years diagnosed with HIV and AIDS. I want to welcome into the studio our amazing guest today, singer, actress, producer, activist, Cheryl Lee Ralph, and Doretta Gadsden, registered nurse, AIDS activist, best-selling author. Welcome, my sisters, and I'm ready for us to have an amazing conversation about the soul of being resilient and impactful. So, Cheryl, I know that you have been extremely active for over 30 years with your Diva Foundation. And I wanted to see if you would share with our listeners and viewers the impact that Diva has made, the Diva Foundation has made on the world all these years in the lives of so many people who were waiting for somebody just like you to come along and recognize them for who they are in this earth and help them change their lives and be seen in a different way, in an impactful way.
Well, thank you very much for that. And first of all, before I say anything, I really have to acknowledge the big D, the diva, Doretta. And I say that because Doretta, having AIDS, HIV, transitioned to AIDS, and is still here 26 years later.
Yes.
That's a miracle. That's a blessing. And when I started Divas, Divinely Inspired, Victoriously AIDS Aware, that's what we were hoping that people would live. We were hoping that people, especially Black women, would stop dropping dead.
Yes.
They were an unexpected quotient in the whole equation of AIDS. And just as people were very silent around the passing of Black people early on in this disease, they were even more silent when it came to the sickness and death in Black women. And 30 years ago, when we did the first Diva Simply Singing, which I really find hard to wrap my brain around since I'm only 29 myself.
That's right, and beautiful forever.
But I think about those times, and 30 years ago, nobody wanted to say AIDS out loud. Nobody wanted to talk about AIDS. Nobody was trying to raise true awareness around AIDS, especially not as it pertained to people of color. It was very hard 30 years ago. And sometimes I think back and I'm like, why did you do it? Why did you keep doing it? There were times when people literally assaulted my person, my spirit, by saying things like, it's not worth your time. People are not going to like you, talking about those people and that disease.
Yes.
They're not going to like you. So it's really just a waste of your time. There were men, gay men, straight men who could not understand why a straight woman was caring like this, So here it is. You have people assaulting your gender, that you have people assaulting your spirit to care, your humanity. And then they ask, well, what's wrong with you?
Mm-hmm.
As if to tell you to your face, if you are HIV positive, there's no room for you. And if you have AIDS, just shut up, sit out, and get out. It's just hard to think. If you think it's bad now, You had to think about what it was like back then, because now people are just confused around Corona. They're just confused. Oh, but back then, they were not confused about how much they wanted gay people, anybody who was HIV positive or had AIDS, to let them know how much they hated them, how much they did not care about them, and how much they just wanted them to disappear. It was such an ugly time in America. And my response was literally just a little church girl in me. You know, that little church girl that learned, do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Yes.
You had to care about people when they suffer, because you might suffer one day. And you hope that if you suffer one day, that somebody's going to care about you. And I realized that there were so many isms in the world, and racism was definitely a disease that people did not want to touch or conquer. You know, early in the disease, when the money was being raised, it was gay white men.
Mm-hmm.
That money somehow took a very long time trickling down, or to Black people and people of color. My husband always says, follow the money, and the money kept being blocked at us.
Yes.
Information was being blocked for us. And, you know, with Corona right now, I'm so happy that people have realized that we are essential.
Yes, we are.
We are important.
Yes, ma'am.
And the thing that's more important about that is that we are beginning to realize just how essential we are.
Yes.
Just how important we are.
Yes.
You know, when we're able to say out loud, Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
And we're not saying that other lives don't matter, but we're here and we matter.
Yes.
So for me, Divas was basically a very fancy cry that said, these are my friends and they matter. These are my sisters and they matter.
Right.
And for so many people, that was just like, what is wrong with her? You know, but I think again, why did I keep going? I keep going because, or I kept going because I knew that as bad as AIDS was and continues to be for a lot of people around the world, and especially here in the American South, I knew something worse was coming. I knew something worse was coming. If we could have AIDS, a disease that was brought on by a virus that became death through sex. Oh, come on now.
Yes.
That means that the next one, we're just going to breathe. And see, when you start talking like that to people, they think you're crazy.
Absolutely.
But it's the science of it all.
Yes.
It's bad, you know, something else is coming. Ebola didn't frighten me. A flesh-eating virus, that didn't scare me. It was there. It was coming all the time. And as much as we see Corona right now, there will be something after Corona. But I'm fascinated now because we still don't have a vaccine.
No.
For AIDS, for HIV. We don't have a vaccine. But we have a vaccine that can cure hepatitis C. We now have what will be the dawning of these vaccines, not just one, maybe 3, probably 4, because you never know what people are doing in the dark.
Exactly.
Rapid vaccines around Corona. So I say to myself, God, well, goddess, because you know God must be a woman, because you know, come on, God must be a woman. I say, come on, goddess, because you're looking here. Show the people what they need to know. So the Diva Foundation, these 30 years, we are not transactional. We are not about, you know, there are a lot of people out there that will raise the money. There are a lot of them. But who's going to raise the awareness for us? Who's going to wave the red flag for us? Who's going to be out there to give the information to us? Who's going to be out there to speak up for us. And that's what we do with the Diva Foundation. And if all I ever did was to help one person, then Divas has done a lot, because we are divinely inspired, victoriously alive. And if it was Sunday, hallelujah, we would be anointed. So that is what
Hallelujah.
foundation, well, that's part of what we do, but we are intentional in raising the love. We are intentional in raising the awareness. We are not about transactions unless they are transactions in humanity and caring.
You are raising awareness, you are raising love, you are giving hope. And that leads me into my question of you, Doretta. It's all about a story. We all have a story. Uh, I know our amazing sister Cheryl has been involved with hearing many stories from people who have walked through this. So, Doretta, what made you decide to share your story, and how has sharing your story changed your life and the people, the thousands of people who you have affected through sharing your story? What has that done?
Oh, Cheryl, Miss Ralph, I just want to say you so took me back to the beginning when I was first diagnosed. Even though I was a nurse, I was terrified. And I remember the woman that told me kept inviting me, and I really speak out because of her, because the shock on my face when she told me, I think she thought I knew that I was HIV positive, because 10 years prior in the 80s, I was an IV drug abuser. I was an incest survivor, so I used IV drug abuse to soften the hurt and the
Mm,
low self-esteem I had, and I acquired it. And so many people that I shot drugs with had started dropping dead from what they call a pneumonia. I was like, no, this is no pneumonia. And I stopped shooting drugs. Then I said, because the only thing we have in common, because some of them was rich, some was white, some was Puerto Rican, some was Indian, but one thing we had was that shooting gallery.
that's right.
So I said, I don't know what they telling y'all, but it's in those needles. And so I stopped. So fast forward 10 years, 10 years later, in 93, I was diagnosed. And when she told me, the nurse, she said, what if you could believe? She was an angel. She said, what if you could believe that you didn't have to die? What if you could believe that you didn't have to die? Because I worked on the AIDS unit. So I wrap bodies every day. I had lost over 35 friends. And so and where she sent me to was all gay white men.
Mhm.
But those gay white organizations saved my life. And then when your organization, I started hearing about your organization, I was like, oh, it's somebody black talking. That touched my heart when it took me back to them, because it wasn't a lot of black organizations helping black people. I got my support from, I was the only black person in the room and the only female.
Wow.
No money was in our community, like you said.
Thank you.
And I tell my
None.
story because I want to reach out and help people know that, look, I'm alive. Look,
Yes.
if you take care of yourself, no matter how you choose, because in the beginning, as a nurse, I didn't believe they knew what they were doing with the medications. So I chose not to take it for over 10 years. I did it alternatively. And then around 2000, when Kalitra came out, when I felt like, okay, if Magic Johnson could take it and he looking good, I'm gonna give it a try. And I've been taking I said, listen, but when my book came out, my doctor came. I speak for my doctor like once a year or more if he asks. And he told me, he said, I want to let you know that you're alive because you didn't listen to me. We didn't know what we were doing at first. We were throwing stuff up against the wall and hoping it worked. I said anything that didn't have a name and it just had something D4T and no name, I wasn't going to be a guinea pig. And I'm here, Cheryl, both Cheryls, by the grace of God and me following my gut and then taking medication when I decided. And I share because I want other people to have hope, to know that God is bigger than any diagnosis. That's my slogan. Any diagnosis, God is your faith in God, your faith in yourself. you taking care of yourself, you could walk through almost anything. I believe that. And I just
Amen.
share, and I don't know where you live, Miss Ralph, but in Brooklyn, a lot of the churches still today don't talk about AIDS.
I'm telling you,
I could go in and ask. They pick and
still.
choose how much I could share. I'm like, are you kidding me? My own church, when I did come out, my pastor, I thought she was gonna pass out, and everybody stood up and clapped for me. I said, if we don't, it's people sitting here, and it was people that she knew came up to me and said, "Oh, my husband has it," but they didn't tell her. Now this is a pastor of a church, so it's a lot. It's still a lot of work we have to do in our church.
Still within ourselves. And we keep hearing over and over, or at least I keep hearing from people over and over, it's hard enough just being Black in America. We have to deal with that. And it's like, yes, we have to deal with all of that. We have to deal with about sickness in our community. We have to deal with poverty in our community. We have to deal with gun violence in our community. We have to deal with mental illness in our community. And we have to deal with something that you that ran you to this path, and that was low self-esteem, how we feel about ourselves. We must deal with these things. And if we had dealt with those things, you might not have been in this situation to begin with. So as a community,
if we dealt with those things, I wouldn't have came down that path. When you don't feel good about yourself, you sleep with men you don't know. You shoot drugs with people you don't know. When you don't have a core self-love, if someone that was supposed to protect you didn't, you feel little. You feel like you're dirt. So how the heck I'm gonna care about somebody else touching me? You touching me, and you were supposed to protect me. So it took a lot of therapy for me to be where I am. I could buy 2 more houses. But I believe in healing. Like I gotta heal to stay alive.
And I was going to say, that's why it's so important that we have conversations the way that we're just talking. We're letting it flow. We're letting people know that we need to be able to communicate with one another. Cheryl, I love when you say mental health, because so many of us, we walk around feeling like it's okay not to be okay, that we can't have the conversation. So I want to ask you all if we could just share 3 words or tips of wisdom that we could, if somebody listening right now could make immediate impact, please share what we would want them to do to help us join in to bring awareness where it's not just, oh, we'll pay attention to it on International AIDS Awareness Day. I want us on top of it every day, because it doesn't go away because we just, everybody is aware of this one day. So my sisters, what can we do right now to make impact, to push somebody to say, hey, this is what I can do right now in my sphere of influence?
Well, I always encourage people to look in the mirror and love what they see. I encourage people to not just love what they see, but to respect what they see, to encourage what they see, to raise up what they see, to even hug what they see, to talk to what they see. Tell that person it's gonna be all right. Tell them how perfectly and wonderfully they are made, and to let them know that they are going to practice every day being much better, much kinder, much more forgiving to what it is they are looking at in the mirror. I travel all the time. Well, I used to, and I would always hear the message, put your own mask on first before you attempt to help anybody else. So start figuring out how to love yourself better. Start figuring out how to encourage yourself better. Because if you help that person with good intentions, you're
Yes.
able to help everybody else much better. But like the drag queen always says, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell you gonna love anybody else?
Ooh. Now that is a word if I have never heard one, because
Hey,
it's so true. How can you love somebody else if you're not even capable of loving yourself? You don't even know what love looks
exactly.
like, what it's
You've
supposed
got
to
to be
feel like.
kind.
So you have to be kind to yourself. You have to love yourself. And Doretta, what words would you want to share that people can make? We want people to make impact. We don't want them to just look at us and listen to us. We want them to use these words to move forward, to change the course of this nation.
Yes.
I think one of the very big things in our community is it to be okay to not be okay, to go for
Oh,
mental health when you need it. Had I
Yes.
not done that, I would have shrank when you told me I was going to be in the same room with Miss Ralph. The fact that I didn't fit, I almost double checked with myself. I was like, I'm not feeling no low self-esteem. You know what? Because I done did all that work in
Yes.
therapy. I know the man that touched me and my family, that was his issues. It was nothing wrong with me. And we need to heal from those old wounds, be it incest, be it mother not being there, be it somebody telling you was ugly and too black. We need to heal mental health. We need to let each other know that it's okay. And it's so prevalent in our neighborhood that it's not okay. It's something wrong with you. I have people in my family that need help. They ain't go. They ain't not yet. And they're not going to. They don't believe it. Oh, I'm not paying that person no money to talk to me. But until we
and the
heal,
thing
we're
about
not
it
going
is,
to grow.
Dorita,
And we're not
people
going to
can
allow
get
others
help
to grow.
now. People are afraid of the cost. There are programs out there. People need to know that they can go to their health department and ask for the help that they need. Help is available, but we don't know that it is available to us.
And that's
Give
why
them,
we have to talk. The churches have to talk. We have to talk to one another more. Like I tell my family, they all Doretta, you in that therapy. Yeah. And look how far I've come because of
absolutely.
that therapy. I always got a therapist on read out, child. Let me dip too far. What?
Come on
I
now. Come
believe in it. I
on.
believe in self-healing, self-love. Like you said,
That's right.
self-love. That's how
Absolutely.
you love yourself. You provide yourself with what you need in all areas, and you allow our brothers and sisters to do the same, and not let them think they are. Oh, it's something wrong if you go to therapy. No, it's something
So,
right, and your life will
so
start moving forward.
what do we do to help people who are newly diagnosed, who may not be where we are mentally with, oh, I need to get this help? What message can we help somebody right now who's listening to us that's newly diagnosed with what they should do?
I think
Well,
Dorita
I
just said
think they
it.
should.
Go ahead.
No, I was. What were you going to say, Cheryl?
No, I was going to say that you just said it, that they need to seek the help immediately. Do not just sit there questioning themselves or their diagnosis. Think of it like this. If you broke your arm, you wouldn't be sitting there in pain. You wouldn't be sitting there
That's right.
holding your arm, thinking about it. You would get yourself to an urgent care, an emergency room, and you would get that arm reset
That's
because
right.
you'd want to get out of pain.
Yes.
You'd want to have a good healing,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that there is help for you. So that's the first thing that I would say is get in a relationship with health care, because that's another thing we don't feel is open to us. We don't believe that good
Mm-hmm.
health care is for us, and it is for us.
It sure is.
The health community, the health center, the health department in your city, in your state, they have got information for you. And for a lot of us, The help we need is at the end of our own arm. It's on your phone.
Yes.
So many of
Reaching.
us have phones. Get the information. You can ask Siri. Siri, I need help. I need HIV/AIDS information. She will say, hold on a minute, I got you. Oh, okay, maybe she won't say it like that, but she should. There's information.
I'm going to change my Siri voice to Cheryl Lee Powell. Hold on, I got you.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I agree with it. It starts with that. My sisters, I know that we have spoken on resilience. We have spoken on impact, not just spoken about it. I see it. I see it in your face. I hear it in your words. You both are powerful, impactful women doing phenomenal work. So I want to ask if you could just please share how we can follow you, keep in touch with you, pour into you, and make impact in what you're doing through your foundations, through the work that you're doing, because it's important. We want to make sure, Cheryl and Doretta, that we're pouring into you what you're giving out. We want you to be able to continue to give from the overflow, not from the deficit. So how can we follow, support, and love on you through the different things that you're doing?
Well, December 1st through December 6th, the Diva Foundation will be presenting HIV/AIDS and all other life-threatening disease awareness panels all week long. You will be able to go to Divas Simply Singing, go to our Facebook page, and you will be able to join in on many more conversations and listen to get more information that's out there. If you'd like to follow me, oh, wait, I want you to know that on December 5th, we will present the 30th annual Divas Simply Singing. I'm telling you, I hear 30 and I'm like, how could it be? I'm 29, y'all. I'm 29. How? But we will be presenting the 30th Divas Singing. It will, if you're in Los Angeles, you can turn on KTLA and watch it 7 to 9. If you are anywhere else in the world or around the country, you can log on to, once again, the Diva Simply Singing Facebook page and watch the show. We have incredible artists, from Leslie Odom Jr. to Stephanie Mills to Olita Adams to Jody Watley to Kenny Lattimore to Anthony Hamilton. All of these incredible artists who have joined us in song and commitment to help us raise awareness and raise funds so that we can continue to do the work that we do for another 30 years. And if you want to follow me, you can go to the Cheryl with an S, the Cheryl Lee Ralph. Go to the Cheryl Lee Ralph, and there you can follow me and different links in my bio to get more information. And then for my story, please download my book, Redefining Diva 2.0, on Audible, available on Audible now. I've been told it makes a great Christmas holiday gift.
Oh,
yes. So download my book, Redefining Diva 2.0. So I think I've given you just about everything, but there's Twitter too. But if you go to Instagram, you'll get that all.
Thank you so much. And Doretta, how can we follow your journey? Because
I have a website, womenwillbloom.com. And if they go to the drop down, I have courses, but I created one for all your listeners for free. And it's called What You Need to Know About HIV/AIDS from an RN who lives with it. And my book is on Amazon, Doretta Gadsden. It's called Living Victoriously, Strategies to Empower Women Living with a Chronic Diagnosis. Because I feel like what you go through with AIDS, and I didn't know I would be diagnosed God knows 20-something years later with rectal cancer. But what I have in that book is what you go through with every diagnosis. You need a doctor. First of all, you need to take a deep breath. You need to pause. You need to pray. You need to research a doctor, a great team, whether you want a medical or traditional. And it goes through all the stuff, the support system, all the things that has kept me here to this day. And I feel like I've gone through things because God knows I'm bold and I talk about it. And I help other people be resilient too.
You are bold and unapologetic. And I have to say one thing, and then I'm going to close it out. When I thought about, and we talked about the title resilience, it is because part of what you just said, not only were you diagnosed with AIDS 26 years ago, you are a living, breathing survivor of cancer.
Yeah.
And your husband died
Stage
from
3 rectal cancer.
a few months ago.
Yeah,
So
all in the same year.
Impact.
From March to 2019 to March 2020, I asked God, okay, what do you want from me? Just come get me. First, I get cancer, I heal, and then he gets cancer and he dies. But God, he sees us through those things for us to help other people. I don't just have a story about AIDS. I have a story about surviving cancer and losing a husband who I adore, but he's not here. So I have to keep going and keep sharing and keep holding other people up too. I don't believe God sees us through things for us to be quiet. That's a waste of time. I feel like we have to share. We have to reach back. We have to share hope. I believe that.
Yes.
My sisters, it has been an amazing conversation that I will never forget. And I know that the people who will listen and take to heart what we discussed today, it will make an impact and it will cause them to live resilient lives. I thank you for being a part of the Salute Her Soul sessions, conversations with Cheryl Palone Williamson, presented by AARP. I love you and appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for being here today.